Good morning. Today we're joined on NR Private Market News by Artem Volynets from Chaarat Gold. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here.
My pleasure. Our pleasure indeed. Very strong results for 2020. I think it's the main point of discussion to start with. In a tough environment for everybody with COVID, and the geography you operate in makes life a little bit harder, and you guys have smashed it. Revenue was up 12.5% to $76 million. EBITDA was touching 10 million versus a loss last year. And was it 58,000 ounces, which is an increase as well in the production side? So all looking rosy.
Yes, indeed. We are very pleased with the way the company emerged from the challenges of last year. And as you correctly mentioned, in addition to COVID and travel restrictions, etc., that everybody in the world had to deal with, we had an additional challenges of a military conflict in one country and the revolution in another country.
Yeah.
And yet, EBITDA is up 50% for Kapan versus the year earlier. First ever, we reported a positive group EBITDA as well, first time in the history of the company. We have made massive progress in all three assets in the two jurisdictions that we operate in the Republic of Armenia and the Kyrgyz Republic. And now that political situation has stabilized in both countries, we are well prepared for the next phase of growth. So effectively, a very good execution on a strategy to build a proper company. 3 years ago, when the new management team started, we were effectively just a piece of the mountain, part of the mountain in the Kyrgyz Republic, with limited growth plans, no cash, and no cash generation, importantly. Today, we reported also first quarter result for this year, and EBITDA at Kapan is close to $7 million. That is versus close to $20 million last year, and $12 million year before, and 8 million at the time when we bought for the year, when we bought the asset the previous year. So kind of 250% increase in EBITDA for Kapan on Q1 2021 versus 2020. That's obviously helped by the increase in a set of commodities we produce. Kapan is a polymetallic mine. In addition to gold, which is majority of sales, we also produce copper, zinc, and silver. But also this is a testimony to the hard work of our team on the ground in Armenia that managed to operate the asset very successfully, outperforming our guidance despite the military conflict and other challenges. So the bottom line is, yes, we're doing very well operationally, we're doing very well financially. In the beginning of this year, we also raised $52 million in primary equity raise, 30 of which is new money and 22 debt conversion, therefore reducing our overall net debt by over 80%. The 30 million new cash will be used this year as an equity portion of the capex required to build Tulkubash, which is our next growth asset in Kyrgyz Republic, and we are working very well to develop and put together debt funding for this project, which we expect to close in the first half of this year, and then use 2 construction seasons to build the project, which will bring our total production to over 160,000 ounces. And together with expansion in the Kapan in Armenia, where we're starting on so-called East Flank development this year and continuing next year, that should bring the total production to somewhere 170, 180,000 within 2.5 years. So 3 times growth on a well laid and developed plan, where we have already raised equity funding, and Kapan growth will be funded from Kapan operating cash flows. These two projects will also be complemented by the work on the third asset that we have, which is our biggest asset, is 5.4 million ounces at close to 4 grams of gold. Kızıltaş, where we plan to do confirmatory drilling for understanding better the technology that we'll use, and that will be described in the update of the bankable feasibility study. So we'll do additional drilling this year to get the test, send the ore to the test laboratories and understand which part or which processing route we will use, on the basis of which we'll start updating the feasibility study. And the idea is to start Tulkubaş with the first gold end of 2022 and close to full run rate 2023. And at that time start construction of Kızıltaş. And that will pave the way for bringing the total production from our existing asset base to close to 500,000 ounces by 2026-27. So this is a lot of information. Let me pause for a minute and see if you have any questions or comments.
No, that's a fantastic summary, Artem. Look, the growth of the company, I mean, the classic barometer for any shareholder or the market is, you know, are the management, is the company delivering on its milestones and promises? And you smashed that one out the park clearly. I mean, you going from, you know, a very, you know, an early base to, you know, as you up to 100,000 ounces and beyond, and with the development of Tulkubaş and Kızıltaş with the drilling, is great. And look, you know, gold might be at $1,800, which has benefited many companies, but you've also driven down your all-in sustaining costs to the magic $1,000 per ounce mark. And I guess the target now, putting a bit of, maybe from a shareholder's perspective, you know, the chances of you guys getting below that is probably, is that a target for this year?
Kapan, which you're referring to, is a narrow vein underground mine. We have 860 kilometers of underground tunnels. We have done quite a bit of work to bring down the costs, including bringing all the previously outsourced services in-house and deploying our own teams. So it is unlikely, given the nature of the asset, it is unlikely to see a massive further reduction in costs per se, but with development of East Flank, we will be processing more ore through the mine, so that will have a positive impact on cost per unit basis. So the current Kapan mill is processing 700,000 of our own ore, plus close to 10,000 tons per month from third-party ore now. We have started working on East Flank expansion, which should enable us to utilize the full capacity at the mill of 1 million tons per year. And that is a very low-cost brownfield expansion, which will, with a total capex of around $10-12 million spread over 2.5 years. And once we define the resources and reserves, we'll buy some equipment and open a second entrance into the mine, enabling us to deliver 1 million tons per year to our mill. And that should have a significant corresponding impact on production volumes, growing roughly 30%, and also on the cost unit as we'll be processing more material. Okay,
well, it all sounds very rosy. And you know, the last point here, obviously with the political situation, you've had some recent changes in government. I assume you've had some meetings at a fairly high level within the Kyrgyz Republic government, and also your efforts with ESG and corporate social responsibility as well. Something we're going to touch on later, probably in May, with a webinar. And you guys at Chaarat have been very kind to step forward and take part in that. So how are those conversations going?
Thank you. Certainly, first of all, as I mentioned, political situation have stabilized in both countries, which is very good for mining industry in both countries overall, and for us specifically. In Kyrgyz Republic, indeed, we had meetings with the new government and the new leaders that came in. New president won the election in January with 80% of the popular vote. Recently, there was a change in constitution, also voted in by the population, with the republic changing from a parliamentary republic into presidential republic, which means that the current new leadership of the country is here to stay and provide the long-awaited stability, which we are very pleased with. But our stability in the country arises not only from a good relationship we have in the capitals of those countries, but predominantly from the way we build the relationship with communities around our assets. And when we say fancy word ESG, this is predominantly what we want, is living in a peaceful and constructive relationship with the people who work in our assets, with our neighbors. And we do quite a bit on that front, whereby we build in schools, kindergartens. We provided a lot of help during the COVID pandemic, distributing medical supplies, food, etc., to the remote villages where we operate. And that builds a very strong basis of support for operations in both Republic of Armenia and the Kyrgyz Republic, because the local villages, the people who live there, they don't change as often sometimes as federal governments. The villages' elders live long thanks to the good mountain climate, and we wish them well, and we work very well together. And this is a fundamental basis for our excellent standing in both republics. And I'm pleased to hear that you will be hosting a roundtable on our work on ESG, because we believe that the best way for us to succeed in this or any jurisdiction is to work in one team effectively with our villages and our communities.
Yeah, absolutely. Artem, thank you very much from Chaarat Gold. It's Richard Lloyd here from NR Private Market News, and we look forward to further positive updates. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me here.